Hello and welcome to the channel. I'd like to give a big thank you to all of you who've liked and subscribed. We've been absolutely blown away by the response. In today's video we're going to be looking at the tender for the 7¼ Britannia, which I've already built. There's a very good reason for building the tender first. The reasons are twofold. Firstly, building any engine is a big undertaking. So what's nice, when you're building the engine and it's taken you years and years, you can go back and you can look at your tender and it gives you a bit of impetus to carry on. The second reason, if you build the engine first, when you've finished building that engine, all you want to do is get it out on track, drive it and run it. But you can't. It could be tempting to rush the tender. So the tender is complete apart from the lining. This is a BR1D tender and it is the type of tender that was pulled behind the engine I'm building, which is 70047. So in terms of building a tender, what I do is I start with the frames. So again, if you saw the first video, you'll have seen some frames. And these are very similar. They're just basically flat plates with various shapes cut out of them and holes drilled in them, and then there's a series of stretchers that join them together. So once you've got the frames complete, and that would also include the rear drag beam, buffers, rubbing plate and all that's going on there, and the rear buffer beam, there's a fair bit going on there. So once you've got your frames up together, what I did was built axle horns, machined these out of solid, machined up some L section steel, and then I actually just glued in the gussets. Prototypically they'd be there for strength, but on a small model that strength isn't an issue. They're then riveted to the frame. Then I'd have made up the axle boxes themselves, and within the axle box for bearings I've used some fairly cheap Chinese ball bearings. The wheels, axles would have come next. We talked about those in the first video. There's not much to say there. The springs, as per the engine, you can see that we've got spring steel leaves and then Tufnol leaves to just build the pack up. The spring keeps, I machined those from solid. We've got some photos to show you of those. The steps, they're all fabricated out of sheet plate, indenting them by punching them from the other side. And then of course lastly is all the brake rigging. So back here you can see some of the brake rigging, you can see the equalising bar and then the pull rods. So then you've got a complete rolling frame, wheels, axle boxes, springing. Now one thing I did do, got the weight of me on there, you've got coal and you've got water, you've got a lot of weight. So to determine exactly how much springing I needed, I estimated the weight of the tank, I weighed myself, I worked out how much the water would weigh, and then I put weights on top of the frames, and those weights represented my weight, the weight of the tank, the water within the tank and the coal, and that allowed me to determine whether my springing was too soft or too hard. And just by experimenting by either adding in spring steel leaves or removing them, I arrived at a spring that allowed, with all that weight on it, some springing to take place. It didn't bottom out, or it didn't sit really hard on its springs and not want to give at all. So once the frames are done, then it's the tank itself. Now this is a fairly complicated item to construct. It probably took longer than the actual frames themselves, and the reason is because there are so many different pieces of material, shaped, riveted, soldered, that builds up this tank. It's going to be full of water, so it needs to be watertight, and also for that reason the tank is made of brass. It's very expensive to build a tank of this size in brass. A lot of people go for steel for cost alone. The trouble with steel is you've got to take precautions to prevent rust, so steps need to be taken to align the tank. So that is why I opted to build this from brass. I was also very fortunate in a good friend of mine very kindly at a very reasonable price gave me many sheets of brass which allowed me to construct the tank from brass. So once I'd actually constructed the tank, I then had to check that it was watertight. That was a big afternoon. So I took it outside, filled it to the brim with water and then left it. If I wasn't an honest man, I would tell you that everything was fine, there were no leaks, job done. But inevitably there were a few leaks, so I had to go around with the blowtorch and solder everything up. But eventually I got it to a stage where it's watertight. Then when that was done, I waited for a nice sunny afternoon and took it out into the back garden and sprayed it. Now, I wasn't very happy with the finish I got with the spraying. There was a lot of pollen, a lot of dust in the air, and I got a lot of inclusions within the paint. In the end, I flatted all the paintwork back off. I brought it into the workshop. I turned it on its side and I brush painted it. I can't remember, 2 or 3 coats of enamel, and then I left that for a few weeks to dry, and then I turned it over onto the other side and I brush painted the other side. It's not a perfect job. I've seen an awful lot better and I've seen an awful lot worse too. I'm happy with it. Transfers, that was a Fox transfer, a water slide transfer. Applied those. They went on beautifully. Really, really nice. And then at that stage, I decided to line it. I won't show you photographs of the lining. I'll be far too embarrassed about that. But the lining didn't exactly go to plan, and I ended up removing the lining and then decided to wait and do the engine and the tender together. So on a 7 1/4 engine, the driver sits actually on the tender. There's quite a lot of weight with all the coal, all the water, and somebody sitting on the tender. So the tender itself has steam brakes along with the engine, and the two systems are connected together. So the brakes are very efficient because you've got a lot of weight on the tender. The tender has its braking system, the engine has its braking system. The two are coupled together, and there's a control on the back head for operating the brakes. On the engine itself, on the back head, there'll be 2 brake controls. There'll be a steam brake, and that is brakes for the tender and the engine, and there'll also be a vacuum brake. Now the engine will have a vacuum ejector, so it will develop a vacuum, and that will be connected to the passenger coaches, which are vacuum braked. The driver will be able to either just brake the tender and the engine with the steam brake, or the vacuum brake, which will brake the passenger coaches. Obviously you need a good braking system. I expect the eagle-eyed of you will have noticed these 2 red handles. Now that one is for the water scoop, and what that is, it's a scoop that lowers itself about 3/4 of the way back from the tender, and there were certain routes in this country where they had water troughs, and so rather than the engine having to stop at a water tower and fill up, they could do it on the move. They would know where a water trough was. They would lower the scoop frantically by twisting this handle. The scoop would lower. They'd shoot through the water trough. Water would come scooting up into the tender, and then equally frantically winding this handle back before the trough ended. That's that one. On this engine, we don't actually have a scoop of any sorts. This is just a dud. However, if you wait and watch the 9F video that we're going to do, that does have a fully working water scoop. The other control is a handbrake. As I mentioned before, the tender is braked. That relies on steam to apply the brakes. So if ever you are firing up the engine, for instance, and there's no steam pressure there to apply the brakes, but you want to have a brake just for safety, you can just wind this handle up and that puts the brakes on. Wind it off, brakes are released. Originally it would have had a mechanism inside it called a coal pusher to push the coal to the front of the tender. So as the fireman is shoveling coal, he's not having to reach too far back into the coal space, it's getting pushed forward. Now I've not modelled any of the coal pusher because all the time I'm running this is going to be full of coal, so you wouldn't see the pusher anyway. Normally on the prototype there'd be, across this open section here, there'd be some lockers and then a double door here that the fireman could open up to get the coal out. Now I haven't added those in because when you're driving this engine, you're sitting up here and you're reaching forward because the engine itself is going to be here somewhere. So you really need all this open to give you lots of access. Putting coal in, looking at your water gauges, using the blower, using the injectors. So the front end of it, this end, is not exactly prototypical. So the function of the tender is to carry the water that creates the steam and is to carry the coal that is burning, creating heat that creates the steam. So this area here is full of the coal, and then back here is where we put the water. So all the water sits down in here, fills the tank. If I wish to drain all the water, I can remove this. This pipe will pull out and then all the water will drain out the bottom of the engine. Now this pipe, if you notice these holes around the top, these holes are set just below the surface. If I'm a bit exuberant in filling this with water, rather than all the water running over here and making a mess of things, it'll run through these holes, down the pipe, and exit harmlessly from the bottom of the engine. These boxes that you see down here, these are called sieve boxes. The water in the tender runs into these boxes, fills this box. There's a vertical gauze filter that the water has to pass through to come from this chamber to this chamber, and then it comes up to this pipe. This pipe runs forward and runs down here, and then there is a rubber pipe that connects to the injector water feed on the engine. Now the injectors need really, really clean water, and this sieve box is what cleans the water. When it comes to needing to clean the filter, we can open these boxes, drop the lid, and then by getting a pair of pliers, I'm not going to remove the filter now. You can just pull that out, blow it through, wash it through and clean it. And then the lid closes like that. There's a nice little neoprene flat gasket, keep it all nice and watertight, and that'll give us a really, really nice clean flow of water to the injectors. So that's really where we are now with the tender. The only things left to do are the lining. I've got to put a vacuum pipe on the back, which will come off this bracket, and that vacuum pipe will be for attaching to the passenger coaches. This is very much non-prototypical, but this is the sort of coupling we use for passenger hauling. Well, that's it for this video. Thanks ever so much for watching. Please like and subscribe, and we look forward to seeing you in the next video. Thank you. Bye-bye. Oh, and the next video is going to be a shop tour.